Okay, this is looking at sort of Mice and Men essay in 6 steps. Examine the way John Steinbeck presents the character of Curley's wife. Even though it's not word for word what our title is like, basically a lot of these assignments are basically an analysis of Curley's wife, so that's why we're going to look at this one. So this one will apply to us as well. So here's our mark scheme. Remember, it's at 40 this time, and we're looking for you guys to be getting band 4. That is C or above. So these are the things that we're looking for in band 4 and band 5. Okay, so remember, you've got to look at understand the background. You've got to look at the context to gain high marks in the controlled assessment. So although you don't have to write about this in detail, the setting of the story and the background of the writer, it's still important that you understand. When Steinbeck writes about Curley's wife, he is trying to make the reader understand how unfairly women were treated at that time, and this affects the way he presents the character. You should make some comment about this in your essay. So for example, the fact that he calls the character Curley's wife. Think about context. How were women seen in the 1930s? Okay, so you must remember that John Steinbeck was born in Salinas, where Mice and Men was set. As a young man, he worked on the ranches in the summer. He would have seen migrant workers like George and Lenny and heard their stories. So we probably would be not too far from the truth to suggest that a lot of the characters that he met could end up in the Mice and Men. There's actually, those of you who are in Steve's English class may have seen a video clip where a lady who works at John Steinbeck's centre in America says that he actually saw a strong man kill a rabbit by mistake. So we would probably think this is Lenny is based on him. So Curley's wife. Claire Luce played Curley's wife in the Broadway version. Steinbeck wrote her a letter describing his vision of the character. This is also available on BPC English YouTube page. There is a podcast based on this. We have looked at this in the lessons. Steinbeck tells us in the letter she grew up in an atmosphere of fighting and suspicion. Quite early she learned that she must never trust anyone, but she was never able to carry out what she'd learned. She learned to be hard to cover her fright. She was a nice, kind girl, not a floozy. So basically the letter says that the only way she feels like she can be treated as a human and gain any sort of affirmation is by flirting with the men. So always remember the question. Examine the way Steinbeck presents the character of Curley's wife. You will have a different one to this with your English teacher. So step 1. So a good way of analysing the character and how she's portrayed is by thinking about how do other characters see her. So for example, in my lessons I've made a big deal about that Candy is our guide. He is a guide for George and Lenny. He's shown in the bunkhouse. He's showing them all the different characters. But he's also a guide for the reader. For example, Candy is an old man who's probably who's very lonely. 2 new guys come into the ranch and he's almost trying to impress them. The analogy I made in my lessons was it's almost like a locker room. He's trying to impress the guys by being one of the boys. So by speaking about Curley's wife in a derogatory manner, he may think he might become more popular. Curley's wife is brought into the novella through rumours. We're not told this it's not fact, it's just what Curley thinks, and because of that it ends up giving the reader a biased view. So Candy tells us she's got the eye, in other words she's looking at other men. George then says married 2 weeks and got the eye. I think Candy's married at heart. So considering we've never seen this woman, this is a really strong statement. It's a very, very leading statement for the reader that we almost go along with these characters. So we're already thinking that this woman is going to be trouble before she even appears. So step 2 is looking at her first appearance and seeing what she looks like. This is the famous part that you've probably all looked at in your extracts in your English lessons. So the fact that we've talked about the metaphor of sunshine, that sunshine is almost a metaphor for hopes and dreams. So if this character is cutting off the dreams, we could say that she's cutting off the dreams of George and Lenny. So this is a foreshadowing or a warning to the audience that this woman is going to stop these people having their dreams. It also doesn't just say that the sunshine faded, it says the sunshine cut off. So this probably suggests to the audience or the reader this is going to be done in a very ruthless way or violent way. So it says in the description that she is heavily made up. So why does she need this much makeup? That she's younger and she's trying to make herself look older. As she's so young, maybe she's got acne, maybe she's trying to cover herself up. We know that Curley is a boxer or wanted to be a boxer, so maybe, you never know, maybe she's a victim of domestic abuse. All of these options, all of these views are valid. You've just got to make sure you back it up with a point in your essay. So her hair hung in little roll clusters like sausages. So this simile doesn't sound particularly attractive. Steinbeck could have used lots of different ways of comparing her hair to something nice, but he chose sausages. So think to yourself, why has he done that? So red ostrich feathers on her red mules. Okay, is it sensible wear for her aunt? So no. So she's going to stand out. Think to yourself, why has she chosen these? One reason could be that a lot of the movie icons that she wants to be wears them, so maybe she's trying to be like them. However, she only wears them on her shoes, so you could then talk about context, that in those times you couldn't afford a big frilly ostrich feather because of the depression. You could also say that as an ostrich is a bird that can't fly, maybe we could use the metaphor that Curly's wife is a bird that can't fly, that she's stuck on the ranch. So step 3 is looking at how does she treat other people? Why do you think she behaves like this? So in chapter 4, when she is talking to Crooks and Candy and Lenny, she refers to them as a nigger, a dum-dum and a lousy old sheep. So it's important to know that all of these people are marginalised in some way. Crooks because of his race, Lenny because of his mental disability, and Candy because of his age. And Curly's wife. So these 4 people are the people who have been left home when the other guys have gone to the brothel. These people are the ones who have been seen as the weak. So then she says to Crooks, I could get you strung up on a tree, so easy it ain't funny. Okay, so this basically means that she threatened him to get him lynched. This is where a group of men would get someone they thought was guilty of a crime and hang him on a tree, almost as a warning to people. The fact that it's so easy just shows us that how black people were treated back then. That if Curly Rice would have clicked her fingers and said, this guy did something, they would have killed Crooks. So how does Curly Wife present herself? So in chapter 5, we get to know a little bit more about her. Ain't I got a right to talk to nobody? What do they think I am anyways? You're a nice guy. I don't know why I can't talk to you. I ain't doing no harm to you. So for the first time, Steinbeck lets Curly's wife actually talk and tell Lenny how she feels. Before, it was very much almost a rumour or an impression or what other people thought of Curly's wife. This time we're actually seeing the real person. So she says, I ain't doing no harm to you. What kind of harm takes place and who are the victims? So it's almost like the whole way through the men are scared that she's going to wreck their dreams in some way. Lenny can't understand this, but maybe Curly's wife doesn't really understand what all the fuss is about. All she wants is someone to talk to. She then says, I get lonely. You can't talk to people, you can talk to people, but I can't talk to nobody but Curly. Elsie gets mad. How would you like to talk to Lenny? So that is almost a question also to the reader, putting us in her predicament. We also know what Curly's like, that he's a bit of a hateful, horrible figure. So we're never allowed in their house. We don't see them having meals and stuff, but we could imagine it's probably a fairly grim existence. So he says I could go with that show, but my old lady wouldn't let me. She says because I was only 15. So this probably suggests that she's not much older than this. She's probably 16, 17, 18. So maybe you think to yourself, how old do you think she is? Another time I met a guy and he was in the pictures. Was she promiscuous or gullible? So this is basically a guy was trying to chat her up. However, she's holding on to this dream because she wants to be an actress. Well, in fact, it was probably just a guy who was trying to sleep with her. I never got that letter. I always thought my old lady stole it, so I married Curly. So the so is a pre-modifier and basically suggests the only reason she did it was because of the font in blue. The effect is that she married Curly, so this suggests about their relationship that she only really did it to spite her mother. Could have been in the movies and had nice clothes, all in nice clothes like they wear. The coulda basically suggests that she's almost saying it's past tense. She does say that she hopes the dreams could still happen. However, coulda suggests to us that she even knows that the dream is never going to happen. Also the fact that when she's talking about being an actress, she never actually talks about wanting to learn the craft of acting. All she ever talks about nice clothes. So that may suggest to you that she's either a little bit vain or perhaps is deluded to the fact that all she thinks acting is turning up and looking pretty. So how is she described in death? It's important to note that actually the only positivity spoken about Curly's wife is after she dies, when she's in the hay, when she is dead. The only other time where half positivity is when Slim says, hi, good looking, but only that is really said out of politeness. So this is the only time that she's spoken about positively is when she dies. So you need to think to yourself, why and what does that show about the character and women in society? A lot of the negative things have gone now she's dead, so the ache is gone. All the way through the novel she's been referred to as pretty. But why does Steinbeck now say very pretty? You could almost suggest that she is better off dead. That's what he's saying, that all the ache and all the pain has gone from her because she has passed away. So step 6 is conclusion, summary of your main ideas. You need to write a good conclusion to tie things up and summarise your main points that you've made through the essay. Okay, so that's the end of the video podcast on Mice and Men in 6 Easy Steps on this essay question. However, it will work for your essay questions that you're working on in class. They're very similar to ones that we've done. Thanks very much. Bye.